right, good evening, everyone. We have 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the regular meeting of February 17th to order. If everyone could please stand, I'm going to ask Councilwoman Christopher to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. As you could tell by the crowd this evening, it's amazing what 45-degree weather can do. Everybody wants to get out, but we do have several presentations this evening, and we have a few very special presentations. What we'd like to do this evening is we have 2 students in the Plainville school system who have been honored, I believe, by the state. I don't know which group actually sponsors this award that we're giving out tonight, but okay. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is actually turn it over to the Fire Marshal, Ron Divert, and with assistance from Councilman Getteman, we would like to acknowledge those 2 students, and we also have a few things for you to take home with you tonight. And don't worry, Mom or family, friends, we'll make sure you get lots of pictures before we let them come back and sit down.
All right. Well, good afternoon, good evening. Ron Divert, Fire Marshal for the town of Plainville. We're here to honor 2 students, one from Linden, one from Wheeler. They were the first place recipients for the townwide for the poster contest. Unfortunately, their posters did go on to county, but unfortunately they didn't go further as if they did last year. So this year we have Marjorie Padilla. Here's your
I've got a couple of these pins for you, one for you, a couple for your parents.
And there's also what exactly is this?
Citation from the state.
Okay, and a citation from the state from Representative Martinez. Perfect. That's for you. And then we have pardon me on this one, Dennis Pyrahovich. That's for you.
Was that right, the last name?
Did I? Yeah.
Because we were talking about before we started tonight how to pronounce it.
And a citation from the state of Connecticut. Awesome. Thanks for your participation, guys.
So congratulations. Now, hold on, before everybody leaves, we're going to want to get some pictures from the town, and also anybody that wants a picture, feel free to come out from sitting down and get any pictures you want. I think the Fire Marshal, you might want to be in there too.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys want to line up right here? We'll take a picture. Family and parents are welcome to come up and take pictures too. That's okay, don't worry. Alright. We're just gonna scooch over here just a little bit. This way? Yeah, this way just a little bit. Alright, perfect. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Do you guys want any photos or? Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Congratulations again, both of you.
Nice job.
I know you would probably love to stay and see how the town business runs, but we understand school starts up again tomorrow, so if you have to leave, we won't be, that's okay, we understand. But thank you, Fire Marshal, once again, and we look forward to doing this again next year. Thank you, everyone. Next on our agenda, we have 2 more special presentations. What I'd like to do is I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Moranti. I'm going to ask Mrs. Fonjami to join her at the podium if you can.
We're really thrilled tonight to honor Pat Fonjami.
Hit the button.
Press the button, okay. Hey, we're honored tonight to honor Pat Fonjami. Pat was first elected to the Library Board of Trustees in 1993. and served all the way through last year. Yeah, for a total of 32 years. And I think it was about 10 years ago, Pat, that you took on the additional responsibility of being the chairperson of the Library Board of Trustees. And we're thrilled tonight to have given you already the chair. It's been delivered, correct? Yes, great. It's beautiful. That's great, and you certainly deserve it, Pat. And a little secret, Pat and I do go back to 4th grade together at Broad Street School, Mrs. Rogers' class. Yeah, so it's been a long time, Pat, and it's great that we're still both here and around and serving the town. Okay. We also have a citation from our state representative, Rebecca Martinez, and I will read at least most of it, if you can bear with me. State of Connecticut General Assembly official citation introduced by Representative Rebecca Martinez, 22nd District, and Senator Henry Martin, 31st District. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Pat Fonjemy, Plainville Library Board of Trustees, in recognition of your 32 years of loyal and dedicated service as a member of the Plainville Library Board of Trustees. This includes serving as chair for the last several years. Thank you for your outstanding dedication to the library, the town of Plainville, and its citizens. We know that you will continue to remain an integral part of the fabric of our community. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given this day, the 17th day of February 2026 at the state capitol, Hartford, Connecticut, Martin M. Looney, President Pro Tem, and Matt Ritter, Speaker of the House, and Secretary of State as well. Stephanie Thomas.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Feel free, if you want to say a few words, feel free.
I won't take much of your time. I just want to thank everyone. The library is very important to me, and the support that we've gotten from the town, from the council, from many councils, and from the Friends of the Library and our dedicated staff have all been very meaningful. Thank you again.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll bring up Mr. Davidson, who puts all of us to shame as far as service to their community. What I'd like to do is ask Councilwoman Tompkins, Mr. Davidson, if you'll please meet her at the podium.
Dr. Davis.
Yeah.
That's true.
Dr. Davison.
Hi, Bill. Okay, so it's my honor to be up here and present this to you. I know you already got your beautiful chair and you're happy with it. Bill has served almost 50 years on planning and zoning, and as someone knows, serving as on a commission, it can be a thankless job, so we really appreciate you, more than you know.
I enjoyed it. What a nice, small town.
Yep, it's a great town. I'd like to read this to you. It is hereby known to all, the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincere congratulations to William Davison, Plainville Planning and Zoning Commission, in recognition of your 45 years of loyal and dedicated service as a member of the Plainville Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you for your outstanding dedication to the town of Plainville and its citizens. And it's signed by President Pro Tem, the Speaker of the House, and the Secretary of State. And again, I want to thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. I had a good time.
Well, thank you again.
Take that one too. Okay, with your chair.
Thanks for the chair, too.
You're welcome. It's well deserved, well earned. Thank you for your commitment to the community, Mr. Davidson. Dr. Davidson, sorry.
Thank you.
We got all the pictures we need? Could we get one picture of the both of you? We're going to put it right on the front page of the town website. You'll be famous. People want your autographs. They'll be...
I know you guys already got your chairs ready, but if you want to take a picture in front of this chair, that would be great. Not sure what that was about, but just ignore that. We can have family join in too after if you'd like. Alrighty. Ready? Okay. Well, you're here.
I'd like to take a picture too.
Take your time. Alright, ready. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. If you guys want to take some pictures too? Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Direct.
If anyone else wants to take pictures?
Anyone else want a picture before we let them go?
Alright.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, both of you again. All right, so that concludes our second round of presentations this evening. We do have another presentation. We have from Aquarian Water Company, you have Mr. George Logan. If you care to step up to the podium, I know you have people with you, but we're setting up the TV for you.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Do we have enough? Here, take that one, hand those to them.
I have a plan B though, so I know your time is precious. I just wanted the audience to be able to see the presentation as well, so as they work.
They'll figure it out. You don't sing or dance, do you, by chance?
Not dance, but I do sing. I play a little guitar.
Give us a couple minutes intermission, maybe. I don't, it might work.
And while they're doing that, I'll just mention who I have with me here. Behind me from Aquarian Water Company. So my name is George Logan. I'm the Director of Community Relations. And with me today, I have Nick LaChance. He's our Director of Business Development. And we have Will Smith. He's our Manager of our Supply Operations Department. And we have our Vice President of Connecticut Operations, Mr. Jeff Ulrich. And that's loading up. You got that flash on? Excellent. Should be on desktop. Should be on desktop. Put it right on desktop.
We're making progress.
Yes, you are.
We're getting closer.
There you go. Yes. There. And the final query on.
Just humble on.
And scroll down. Like these are posters. There it is. First. There we go. You have a PowerPoint?
Secretary of State either. Is it, I couldn't read it. I had no idea what it was.
I couldn't believe it. I know, obviously, I know, I just said it, but, yeah. But I looked at it and then,
It's like Stephen to me, but I
and
wasn't
I don't think I even looking at the Secretary of State, I just read the signature. And then I realized it like, like a half second later.
All right.
All right, so I did the introductions, and that's an older, this thing. That's an older map of the distribution. Oh, I turned it on.
Go ahead again.
Red is on. Okay, got it. Sorry about that. And if we go to the second slide, just the agenda. So I'm going to hopefully take about 10 minutes or so with this presentation. I'm going to talk about Aquarion Water Company a bit, just to give folks some background. I know some folks are more familiar with Aquarion than others. We're going to talk about the distribution system, our sources of supply, climate change, water conservation, talk a little bit about source protection, so important to protect our aquifers and with our groundwater supplies. Talk about system maintenance and repair. Talk about the public fire service charges, and then just other programs, activities, informations, and for questions. So if we go to slide 3, just a little background of Aquarion, founded back in 1857. One of our first presidents was the famous P.T. Barnum. Aquarion has experienced steady growth through the 20th century, and we expanded, in the 21st century, expanded into Massachusetts and New Hampshire. We've integrated over 84 water systems into our operations since 2011, so there's been a lot of growth since that period. And then Aquarion Water Company was acquired by Eversource Energy. Prior to that, we were owned by an Australian company. Prior to that, we were owned by a British company. But currently, Eversource Energy owns Aquarion Water Company. Aquarion acquired the Valley Water System back in 2021. Many remember that. And now it's 2026. A couple of years back now, we, Eversource, decided that they wanted to divest and sell the water company. So Eversource Energy, our parent company, they went out to bid. Folks at Aquarion Water Company, myself or Jeff or even the president at the time, we're not involved in terms of in that bidding process. Eversource Energy owns the company. Eversource Energy decided who was on the bidder, and they chose who the winning bidder would be. So the winning bidder happened to be Regional Water Authority, who had decided that they're going to create a new quasi-governmental agency, right? It's an authority called Aquarion Water Authority. So the idea there would be that this Aquarion Water Authority would borrow the nearly $2.4 billion to purchase Aquarion Water Company. Aquarion Water Authority would be an independent company similar to Regional Water Authority, reporting up to a governing board. So not a merger of Regional Water Authority and Aquarion, all right, but just two separate companies. So in order for that sale to be finalized, it had to be approved by our regulators. We're regulated by PURA, Public Utility Regulatory Authority. And PURA decided not to approve the sale. They said the agreement was financially sound, but they did not like the managerial and particularly how some of the duties of the Office of Consumer Counsel, who handles customer inquiries and complaints and that sort of thing, was going to be handled. So Eversource appealed that rejection by PURA. Eversource Energy won the appeal in that the Superior Court said, hey, they remanded it back to PURA so that PURA could better explain themselves in terms of, and to decide whether they want to change their minds. So as a result of that appeal being successful by Eversource and it being remanded back to PURA, PURA, a couple weeks back, came up with a schedule. And today, actually, all parties and interveners that intend to file a brief and argue their positions, they had to let it be known today. On the 27th of February, all parties and interveners that intend to file a reply brief must publicly file that document by the 27th. By March 6th, a non-binding draft version of the decision will be released by reviewed by parties and interveners. So PURA is going to make a draft decision on March 6th. Then there's written exceptions due on March 11th, the oral arguments March 16th, and then a final decision by PURA on March 25th of this year. So that is the current trajectory there. So I just wanted to give you an update on the sale. All right, now back to the system. Page 4, Plainville system. Sources of supply. Just for those of you who may or may not be in the know, we have the Woodford Avenue well field, and we have a couple wells there. Well 2A, safe yield of 675 gallons per minute, pretty good well, capacity-wise. Well 7, over 1,000 gallons per minute. And the Johnson well field and the Woodford Avenue, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Woodford Avenue, sort of kind of middle of the town, and Johnson Avenue, well field a little more northern. Well 3, safe yield of 600 gallons per minute. And well 6, a safe yield of 550 gallons per minute, reliable gallons per minute. Then we have the North Mountain system. And that system, small system, north and west corner of the town, is being fed by an interconnection that we have with New Britain Water Department. So their source supply is coming from a pipe from the New Britain Water Department. Slide 5. We have the interconnections with Connecticut Water Company. We have a few. Cardinal Drive, Cary Drive, that's an emergency interconnection. Cook Street, Mancourt, that's an emergency interconnection. Main Street, another emergency connection, and Spring Lane, that's another emergency interconnection. So we don't rely on that for for daily use and that sort of thing, but those connections are there if needed during an emergency. Interconnections with the New Britain Water Department. Journey Road, which I just talked about for the North Mountain system. That is an active source of supply for that system. New Britain Avenue, emergency interconnection. Trumbull Avenue, emergency interconnection. So, Plainville is pretty set in terms of water, quantity in the area. Page 6, just chat a little bit more about the water distribution system. We have over 6,650 connections, right? That's water connections, right? Houses, buildings, that sort of thing. Population served. I know the population in Plainville, and don't quote me on this, I know it's somewhere around 18,000 or so. Thank you. But in terms of population served, according to our data, that we served just over 13,300 people in Plainville. Water mains. 90 miles of water main. You look to that drawing to the right. Lots of water mains throughout the town. Over 550 fire hydrants, right, to keep our families safe. Distribution storage. We have the Maria Road tank over to the right and south. 1.1 million gallons of storage. Reliance Road tank, more to the north and east a bit. 1 million gallons. The Johnson Avenue water treatment plant, the treatment plant itself has a clear well, a small clear well. When we treat the water, it kind of goes in the clear well before we pump it out into the system. So that also counts as distribution storage. So that has about 50,000 gallons in that clear well. On page 7, as I mentioned, the Plainville system is supplied by the two well fields I mentioned, and maintains all the emergency interconnections with other water systems. The Plainville system consists of 4 water level or pressure zones, hydraulic pressure zones. That big blue blob, that is the main system, and most of Plainville is in the main system. You look up to the upper left, you have the Maxine Road High Service Area, 531. You have the Maria Road High Service Area by the Maria Tank. We call that the 560 water level. And then there's also the upper right, you'll see the pink there, the Reliance Road High Service level, 581 feet. If you look, move to page 8, slide 8. And those numbers in terms of water level, that's just talking about what elevation that we're pumping the water to. So those areas that are of higher elevation, we need to pump the water up higher so they can have adequate pressures, and that's why we created those small, or valley water, create those small systems. On page 9, now I'm going to get into talking a bit more about climate change and the effects of climate change. Look at page 9. It's the latest version of the drought map from NOAA that I can find, and you see here most of the state right now is in a abnormally dry situation. And we're actually in some other parts of the state, some other systems that we have in the southwestern corner of the state, southwest part of the state, we are actually heading towards some of our drought triggers. And so we're making steps there. You know, across New England on slide 10, across New England, you're finding the Northeast has become a hotspot, right? For record floods, heavy rainfalls over the past 10 years. Periods of increased yearly rainfall, increased annual temperatures, increased periods of intense short-term droughts. So we never would know when one of those short-term droughts are coming. And remember, the time to conserve the water, right, is before you get into the drought, not once you're in the drought. So we're using, that's why all these triggers are so important. We're trying to look at trends to see if we're heading in that direction, that we take appropriate actions quickly and early enough. Page 11 talks about more frequent intense storms. And if you look, increased road salt use in the winter. We're all seeing that. I know my car's covered with road salt right now. Increased well contamination risk. Bedrock wells are especially vulnerable. And increased, costs due to storm damage, snow removal, emergency, overtime, etc. Page 12, Aquarian, we encourage folks to not water their lawn. Spring is coming, not to water their lawn every day. We suggest you do twice a week watering. In some systems, particularly if we get to these drought levels, that becomes voluntary, then it becomes mandatory. But we're trying to encourage folks to get used to watering their lawns just twice a week. Your lawns will actually be stronger. Will actually become stronger if you water twice a week. That's all they need. The roots will grow and try to get to the water, and it'll become stronger. And so we're just trying to change folks' habits in terms of how they go about watering. Because when you look at irrigation during the spring and summer, it takes up a lot of the water, a good portion of the water that we are treating and pumping and trying to get around. So now if you jump to page 13, I want to talk about source protection, because here in Plainville, your wells are right here in the town, and you look at the Johnson Avenue well field in the northern section. So the blobs you see on the right, the pink and the sort of yellow there, those are aquifer areas, aquifer protection areas. So the idea there is that those are the areas that we're trying to protect, because any contaminants that leak into the ground there could end up in the aquifer and potentially impact your drinking water. So the aquifer protection area is highly developed here in Plainville. And it contains, as you all know, industrial, commercial, and residential neighborhoods. There's a railroad line that goes through. The Robertson Airport, for crying out loud, is on top of the aquifer protection area. And there's several industries in the Farmington Industrial Park. So historical contamination of the area, has impacted groundwater. And treatment of the well field, of the Johnson Avenue well field, includes an air stripper for volatile organic compound removal. So we have that in there. So Aquarian has taken the steps to do that. The Woodford Avenue well field. And someone just nodded me with time here, right? If I'm doing okay. I think I'm on slide 14 or 20. Okay. And feel free to interject at any time as well. Woodford Avenue well field, the aquifer protection area, is also highly developed and contains, and that's right in the middle, sort of in the middle of town. That's where that middle pink blob and that orange blob is part of that aquifer area that impacts different wells. There's residential neighborhoods as well as a commercial zone. I mean, look at what we have, a commercial zone over the aquifer protection area. Route 72, Interstate 84, the railroad line, the Springfield Terminal, and a 20-inch sanitary sewer line that's up gradient of the well field, right? Up gradient, everything flows downhill. The line's fine, right? But again, potential risk, right? If something were to happen, if it were to break, that kind of thing. Historic past contamination of the area has impacted groundwater. As a result, again, what has Aquarion done, or Valley Water System done previous to us? We've installed several pollution monitoring wells near the well field. So what's a pollution monitoring well? That's where we dig holes and we put sensors so that we can see that if there's a disturbance, if that contamination starts to travel or start to move, we get an indication as it gets closer to the wells, as opposed to detecting it once it's close to the wells. So we have that in place currently for the Woodford Avenue. Again, that's to help us to protect the well field and the sources. Slide 15, PFAS. When you look at the Johnson Aquifer, it's a tier 1 high risk because of the airport, right? And so what are we saying? Well, airport, for years, they used this a foam that contain these right PFAS, quote unquote, forever chemicals. So they're not using it now, but they have in the past. That's what we're talking about, historical contamination. Undetermined risk, the sanitary sewer lines I talked about, even just past fires. Fire departments were using this foam, right, for years to fight fire because it was effective at putting out fires. But it has now, as we know, and you may ask yourself, well, why all of a sudden we're all talking about PFAS now? If they've been doing this for years. Well, you know, our ability to test for certain chemicals, right, has become better and better. You remember a time you hear about folks testing in parts per million, right? And then you would do, you know, you could detect some parts per million. Then you got parts per billion. And parts per trillion, that means you could detect something like one drop of water in a Olympic-sized pool, imagine. We can find that now because of technology, and that's why we're able to find these forever chemicals. And so what are we doing about it? Aquarium doing about it? We have source protection monitoring. We use technology, right? And like these monitoring wells and sensors. But we also have feet on the ground that go into these neighborhoods and the immediate vicinity of the wells, and we inspect the area twice annually. And if somebody calls suspecting there's a contamination, we come out right away. So what does that mean, we inspect? Well, we go to gas stations. We go to industrial sites. We try to make sure that gas stations are storing their used oil properly. We try to encourage them. We go there once first and we tell them, oh, hey, you're not really storing that oil properly. Then we go there a second time. If they're still not storing it properly, we say, hey, we can either do the right thing or maybe we'll call Connecticut DEP, and usually people try to do the right thing. So we try to give folks information. We found that most companies, most residents want to do the right thing. We're just trying to provide the information that they need to do so. The next page, slide 16, system maintenance and repair. The water's always flowing. Fires, there's water to fight fires. You turn on your tap and there's water. There's a lot that goes into it, right? We, and Will's here, he helps coordinate a lot of this. We do water system flushing. We at least try to be on a 5-year cycle of all the mains. That doesn't mean we just come into Plainville once every 5 years. That means the mains throughout the system are on a 5-year cycle. We do a little every year, but within 5 years, we're going around the horn again, if you will. Hydrant maintenance, that's on a 3-year cycle. We make sure that every hydrant gets touched and looked at every 3 years. Again, it's not that we wait 3 years to touch the hydrants, we just do it one section at a time. Water storage tank rehabilitation, this is the standard best management practices about every 15, 25 years based on the condition of the tank. So tanks are on that 15, 25-year kind of cycle as far as service life, but we also inspect the tanks to make sure that there's not something going on that may be reducing the service life of that tank. Pump station improvements every 15 to 25 years. I'm almost 57 now, and I started off in the engineering department. I remember starting the engineering department and upgrading pump stations, and some of the quote-unquote old-timers would say, oh, I remember when we built this pump station 20 years ago. And I say to myself, you were here when they built the pump station? And now it's 20, 25 years later, and there's new engineers that are now improving and upgrading the darn pump stations that I helped to upgrade back in the mid-90s. So so I can attest that we're certainly doing this in these 15 to 25-year cycles. Water treatment plant improvements. The Woodford treatment plant improvements. We installed softening and made other treatment improvements to that treatment plant. And we put that online, that softening system online in 2024, towards the end of 2024, at a cost of just over $4 million. And also, the other major treatment facility is the Johnson Treatment Plant improvements. And we are planning on designing and making those improvements in 2027 to include potentially PFAS treatment, and we're looking at other treatment opportunities there as well, including a softening. But we have to take a look at the conditions in the site and to see what we can do there. So we're always looking at ways to improve our sources of supply, make them stronger, make them and improve the quality of the water that you're drinking. I know that here in Plainville, there's and for years there's been a lot of some consternation for folks with the water hardness. So this is, this is a group effort here, a team effort. We're all in this here together. Aquarian is committed to dedicating a resource in terms of engineering, in terms of making improvements in the city in a smart way, and in a way that will help to improve the that particular situation. I also want to be clear that Aquarian Water Company currently, and has since we own it, meets all state and federal regulations as it comes to water quality. Right? Hardness is not something that is regulated by the state or the federal government, but we do track that. It is something that is of concern to folks in this system, and so we're doing just as we did at the Woodford treatment plant. When you look at the Woodford treatment plant, let me just give you an example. By installing that softening system, we added to our operation costs just in 2025, the first year that we had it in service, an additional. So there's the $4 million we spent to actually install the softening system, but then we spent just in 2025 $195,000 just in operation costs. I'm going to put Will on the spot. Will, what does that $195,000 comprise of?
So $195,000 on the softening plant in 2025 was buying the salt to regenerate the ion exchange media that takes the hardness out of the water, and also on just general maintenance and repair for parts and operations.
The general maintenance. Also, water main replacement program. Since 2022, if you look at the table on the screen there, on slide 16, you can see we acquired a system in 2021. By 2022, we replaced 1,452 feet of water main at a cost of just under $400,000. 2023, we spent $1.6 million on water main replacements. 2024, we spent $1.7 million. Now you may ask yourself, like, George, this is 2026. What happened to 2025? Well, I tell you again, transparency, we're all here together. We had a number of water mains in Plainville ready for water main replacements. And then, lo and behold, when we went out there, all of those streets that we had identified were paved, right? So what do we do there? Lesson learned, right? And we're working with your Public Works department. I forget the director's name. And we're committed to get that list in terms of the streets you plan on paving. You know what happens? Sometimes those streets, they change, right? There's budgetary issues, or no, they don't change, right? So don't go. So we want to get that list. Good. We want the list, and we will coordinate, because it is there's so much saving. Imagine if you have the town and Aquarion, right, sharing the cost of paving a water main. That allows us actually to replace more water mains when we can share in those costs. And so we're committed to do everything we can to not let that happen again. All right, next page. We often hear about these public fire, right, and public fire service charges, right? Many of you know that the town pays Aquarion every year these public fire service charges, and oftentimes you may get it. I know the fire department may hear from residents, and you're dealing with the budget. You say, "What on earth is this public fire service charge? Why in the world are we paying for this, and what are we getting out of it?" Well, I'm hoping to shed some light on that. So the towns pay an annual fee, right, to ensure that the water system is adequately sized and maintained for sufficient capacity to extinguish fires at any point in time. Now, what am I saying all that? Well, if we did not increase the size of the tanks, increase the size of the pipes, all that is done for fire protection, to make sure that when you need that minimum 500 gallons per minute, or you want 1,000 gallons per minute when your house is burning and you want that fire, it's available, right? So we had to upsize the designs of our tanks drastically for fire protection, upsize the size of our pump stations. We've got generators in all the facilities. So all of those costs are is a formula. The state, we're regulated by the state. The state comes up with the actual formula, and it's based on the length of water mains that you have in the system and the diameter of the pipe. So it's called the linear foot, inch foot, in terms of that number, times this magic number that's come up by the regulators based on the cost of service study and all these sorts of things. And that's what that charge is for every year. So again, as I mentioned, includes upsized water storage tanks, larger diameter water mains throughout the system, maintaining and replacing those larger diameter water mains. And then there's fire hydrants and replacing fire hydrants. And so, but there are other benefits as well too, right? Not just the fire protection and keeping our families safer and our businesses intact and safer, more resilient. The town and residents receive usually, where we have fire protection, favorable insurance premiums due to the availability of sufficient fire protection. And fire department personnel utilize these fire hydrants for training purposes. We don't charge the town for the water that's used to fight fires. You know, the water, in terms of a quantity, and there's no extra charge, should I say, to water or for training. And so all that is used and is as a result of this public fire service. Next page, light, and I've only got a couple more slides to go. Other programs and activities. I strongly encourage all of you to go to aquarionwater.com. Lots of great information there in terms of there's water quality reports, these that you can see. They're called CCRs that are in there. And we have great programs like the Environmental Champion Awards. We have this every year, and we look for nominations from folks. We look for a Business of the Year, folks that are doing something good for the environment. Business of the Year, the Adult of the Year, the Student of the Year, and the winners. For example, for business and adult and nonprofit, they get to donate in their name. Aquarian will donate in their name $5,000 to a nonprofit organization. And so, go on the website and take a look at that, Environment Champions Awards. Make the nominations. It's easy to do. It doesn't hurt anything. Just put in a name, put in an organization. We'll take care of it. You never know. We might actually win. We have the Rain Barrel program, very popular program. And that runs from March through early May. Again, we're trying to encourage water conservation. And we sell these rain barrels. We make no money on these rain barrels. We charge for exactly what it costs for us to get them. Earth Day projects. If you have any interesting Earth Day projects that you think Aquarian should get involved or may want to get involved in, please let us know. And we also have a customer advisory board. Is anyone here on our customer advisory board? That's a shame. We need someone from Plainville on the Aquarian Customer Advisory Board. Meets only twice a year. And I give similar updates like I'm doing here now, and you're able to give suggestions in a smaller setting, in a forum type setting, in terms of what Aquarian can do better. So thank you very much for your time. All right, I tried something cute on the next slide there. We never know the worth of water till the well runs dry. And the next question is any questions you may have, and feel free.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Very informative. I imagine we're going to have a couple questions. Does anyone,
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Getterman, go
we'll
ahead.
start from the beginning. You talked about RWA buying out Aquarian and taking a giant loan out. Who's paying that loan back and who's paying the interest? And who's regulating RWA?
Right, so I could say, but I got the vice president here, so I don't want to miss speaking from here.
Well, I'm operations, so I'm not a financial person. But well, look, in the end, it's going to be the customers are going to pay for it. But the cost,
rate increases.
the way they're proposing right now, there would be no rate increases initially, but there's going to be rate increases over time. In any case, really, when you look at the different proposals, that were submitted, a private company is going to fund. They have one way of funding the purchase, and a public entity has a different way of funding the purchase. In the end, it's a purchase. It's like buying a house. Someone's going to have a mortgage. Someone's got to pay it, and you got to take money in order to pay the mortgage. So it's kind of that thing. It's whether it was a private company or a public company, in some way, shape, or form, there's debt involved. There's loans being paid, and the customers are definitely part. It's a business. There's a part of that payment. Yep.
Will they still fall under PURA?
They would not fall under PURA. No.
So no regulatory commission?
There would be a board. There's a board, an executive board, that's going to be 5 members, Aquarian, representative town. So it's a little complicated. It's like 60 towns. We serve 60 towns. We're a big system. We take it very seriously. We serve almost over 700,000 people in the state. So 1 out of every 5 people in the state get their water from us. So we take it very seriously. We're very proud of what we do. The board would be a 60-member board that's represented every month. Every town would get one representative. Their representation would be based on the number of customers we have in your town and the amount of land we own in your town, because we own 27 reservoirs. So there's some towns, like a town like Wilton, we own, what, half of the town? And we own about half the land in the town for our reservoir, because one of our reservoirs is right nearby. So they're trying to figure out, balance out that weighting and voting authority based on how much impact you have on that town. Then those 60 members would identify 5 to be an executive committee, and that executive committee would be combined with the regional 6-member committee, and the 11 of them would be the final decision makers. So it's a little complicated. That's part of where some of the discussion is around that complications, and there's a lot of competing interests around it. So right now it's still working its way through as to whether it's going to be approved or not, but like I said, a lot of competing interests.
Okay.
Do you have another one?
I have a lot more.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Federal regulations, PFAS need to be eliminated by 2031. What's your plan to get rid of the manganese first, and who's paying for that?
Well, manganese, we don't necessarily have to get rid of manganese. You know, it's
So
not.
you need to get rid of that to get rid of the PFAS?
We will, yes, we will. The PFAS, there's as you can imagine, when we operate 70 systems, we have a lot of PFAS issues in the state. Right now, our preliminary estimate that we're going to spend in the state is about $275 million to remove PFAS from all of our facilities in the state. So as you saw in the thing, there's a plan for 2027 to move forward with a project at Johnson Avenue. But Johnson Avenue is not going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap. Johnson Avenue, the site is very small. It's in the floodplain. We can't actually expand the facilities on that site. We're going to probably have to pipe the water over to our building that's further down Industrial Avenue, put our treatment system over there, and bring it back. So there's a multi-year project to do that. And we are still monitoring. We're still doing the PFAS testing. The rules there's an expectation the rules may change a little bit. They may push the date back because the water systems across the country, it's a really, really aggressive goal that they've set on this regulation. And it's very hard for all the water systems when you look at the whole country to all meet that, especially when you take into account all the manufacturing that's required to meet that and all the construction that's required in order to meet those goals. There's some expectation they may get pushed back 2 years. But we're still moving on the original schedule, and that's what we're working towards. So our plan is, if the PFAS numbers stay where they currently are, which is above the limit, that we do end up installing a treatment system to comply with the regulations.
And the cost for that, are you going for federal grants? Is that?
So there's some money available. The way it's working, there's a couple of different sources. There's lawsuits. So we've gone after the manufacturers of the chemicals and gotten into a class action suit, and they've sent out money, and we've received about $23 million are committed to us, but our expenses are going to be on the order of $275 million. So it's only a drop in the bucket. We're also applying to the state for the state revolving fund money on a continuing basis as these projects go forward. The one issue we have with that is once you get over like $2 million, the most they'll give you is $1 million. So if your project is 10 million, you're only going to get $1 million. If your project is 1.2 million, you might still get 600,000, 700,000 for the project. So the smaller projects are getting funded at a higher percentage than the bigger projects. I would anticipate, maybe Will knows, the Johnson Avenue was going to be a several $1 million project for us to do PFAS, the treatment, the piping, the new pumping. So we'll get some funding either through the state revolving fund or also some of the money from the lawsuits, but it's not going to cover the full cost. The rest of the full cost will be kind of spread across their customers across the state.
You say 2027 for Johnson Ave. That start date?
That's the start date of the planning. It'll be like the 2 to 3 year project to develop the plan and develop the concept, design drawings, permitting, construction to get in place and for the regulations. Because there's a lot, just to give you, there's a lot of, the regulatory has gotten pretty strict. So there's a lot of regulations coming into effect right now. There's, everybody remembers Michigan. There's lead and copper rules that we're having to comply with as well. There's hundreds of millions of dollars we're having to spend on the lead and copper, comply with those requirements to get the lead and copper, or the lead out of our system, lead services. We have to inspect almost all of our customer services to figure out if they're lead or not. So right now, that's kind of our focus, because that's got a faster timeline to meet. So we're concentrating that right now, and then we'll be moving more and more into PFAS.
Okay. You mentioned the town sits basically on, entire town sits on an aquifer.
Yep.
How often do you meet with the town's aquifer agency to give them updates?
I'm not aware of having done it.
And then my last thing is, you wanted to replace water mains, but you couldn't do it because the roads were just repaved.
Yep.
Well, I know that our engineering department reaches out to the utility companies, gives them a list. You're owned by Eversource. I know they get the list. I'm not sure why it doesn't get to you.
Well, we will follow up on that. Look, we put in about $60 million of pipe a year in the towns across the state of Connecticut. We're always looking to work with the towns as much as possible because it's beneficial. You don't like it when we rip up a road 5 years or 10 years after we ripped it up, and we prefer to do it at the same time you're going to be ripping it up and try to find a way to work together on it. So we will.
That's why we reach out first.
So I think what basically happened is we probably have some longer relationships with some of the other. Stanford, we've served for 100 years. Greenwich, we've served for 100 years. Fairfield, Bridgeport. So we have long-time relationship with those. We have like direct contacts. We just have to do a better job of creating some better direct contacts in Plainville in order to make sure we have that up-to-date list.
And on that note, I would say, if you have any issue whatsoever in terms of communications, getting to anyone, from a meter reader to Jeff to the president, I left my numbers on the.
And I'll give my card tonight. Yeah, we're more than happy to meet with the Aquifer board as well and hear what they have to say. I wasn't aware there was even one, but I'll give you my number is on the website. You want to call me? You can call me anytime you want. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Moranti.
I did go over the latest water quality report that was online. I have several questions based on it.
Sure.
The first one, of course, this one reports on 2024. Will a new one be coming out soon, reporting on 2025?
It usually comes out the beginning of 2020. Yeah, it'll come out in the next couple months for 2025, yes. I think it has to be up by May 1st or June 1st, yeah.
Yeah, first half of this year.
Yeah.
And that'll report on 2025?
That's
correct.
Yeah, correct, okay. On the manganese that you talk about on page 5, I remember last year reading it when it came out, and, that really jumps out at you when you
Yep.
have the warning there about pregnant women and about infants on the manganese.
Yep.
What is the latest status on it? I noted that you had deactivated a few wells.
Yep.
What is the current status of that?
So in general, what happened? We like I said, we try to be very upfront, open, and showing everyone what we're doing. We have an operations group. I oversee the operations group. There's another vice president that oversees water quality. Water quality is kind of like our auditor. They go out and take samples all around the state. They don't necessarily tell us every day where they're going to be and where they're going to be grabbing samples, but they grab samples, and it's a test on us to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing on the operations side. So in the report, you'll see there was a high, there's a range. And the reason there's a range is because the one day that they took a sample there, it was higher. And the reason it was higher, we were doing work on the one well field, and we'd shut down the other well, and we had to turn on the well with the higher manganese for 2 days. If you look at all the other samples, and what you'll see in there and also on that report, the average for the year was 0.01. And we take multiple samples every month at all of our sources all year long. So if you look at that, the statistic, what it is all the other samples were either non-detect or very, very low, 0.01. It was just that one day, that one sample we got. And as soon as we saw it, as soon as water quality called us, they asked, hey, what happened this day? Yeah, that was the day we happened to have the well on. You guys grabbed the sample when the other well was on because we were doing work on the other well, but the well's back off like it normally is. It's not going to be an issue for the rest of the year.
Okay, also on the hardness that you report actually also on page 5, we did a lot of testing back in 2017 and 18 when it was Valley Water.
Yep.
When, before the softening system was put in. And, we have, I found one report that has some of that data, recorded. How much has it changed? I believe your objective was to make the Woodford Avenue aquifer at least the same as the Johnson Avenue aquifer, both of which were very hard,
Yep.
just a matter of degree, yeah.
So what we've so the softening system's been running since 2024, and in general, and Will could correct me if I'm wrong, we've dropped the hardness levels in that Woodford area to below half of what they were before. So they're comparable or even lower than the Johnson Avenue wells now, and so that's been successful from our perspective. It's still high. Look, we have other sites, other parts of the state that aren't that high. We also have other parts of the state that are higher than that. It's all dependent on the water source. But from our perspective, it's in line with what our expectation was when the system was designed and constructed.
Okay, and my questions on PFAS, I think, were answered through the questions that Councilman
Okay.
presented.
All right, any other questions or comments from anyone?
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Yes.
go back to the good question on PFAS. I think I heard PFAS, the efforts on the Johnson Avenue well. Will that also include the other well at Woodford Avenue, or is it just a concentration on PFAS at Johnson?
Woodford it's got the same concerns around PFAS. They both have numbers that are above the PFAS number. They do go up and down a little bit, but they're both in consideration. But Woodford's an easier project. It's not, we have the land, we have the space, we have the availability. It's just a matter of, coming up. We're going to get in the habit of having a standard design for these units. We'll just implement. They'll be easier and faster to implement. The Johnson Ave is going to be a much more complicated project.
Okay. And so is it safe to say that as you undergo this process for both the Woodford Avenue and Johnson Avenue wells, that are you thinking softening for Johnson as well, or is it just going to be a PFAS effort, or it's going to be combined? It's going to be a softening and PFAS for Johnson Avenue well?
I don't know if we've fully made that decision yet. We're still evaluating. It's really a matter of, because what the issue is, some of the other components, when you get into PFAS, what other things you have to treat for, because the PFAS media can be impacted. So, like if the manganese is higher, which I don't think is Johnson's going to be an issue, we may have to put treatment ahead of that. So we still have to make a few decisions as to what the steps in the process are going to be at the Johnson Avenue site.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with a question or a comment? Thank you for your time. I don't know at what point, but maybe post the March 25th decision, we may ask you to come back and, we'll continue the discussion. As you know, we are very concerned about the water hardness and just the quality of the water in Plainville in general. It is something we've talked about a lot in the last 6 months. So, we would look forward to continuing the discussion if you guys are willing to come back.
Absolutely. And we'll, like you said, we'll reach out to you for the contacts for the
Okay.
Aquifer Board. We'll reach out, get the engineering number to make sure we're interacting with the right people. And then we will be coming back, I guess, as we develop the project of what the plan is at Johnson Avenue as well.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one more before you go. One more additional question on. I was thinking about the issue of softness, as the chairman just said about the hardness of the water and your effort to soften it. When you mentioned the interceptor connections, are those a possibility to supply, say, from New Britain to this water wellhead, either Woodford or Johnson, to help with the softening? Could that be incorporated in the design?
I haven't been involved in the investigation. It's like an engineering side of the thing. I'm more operations. In general, the New Britain water is more expensive than our water, so that's going to really up the cost in order to do that. So, to give you an idea, our water costs internal, our costs inside the company is on the order of $600 per million gallons. When we buy water from another water system, it's like $4,500, $5,000. It's almost 10 times the cost when we buy water from another system versus producing it ourselves. So our preference, and also when you work out the costs, it's always we try to work with our own water just because it's significantly cheaper for the customers to do it that way. We will buy water when we have to. We have connections in certain parts of the state where we have no other alternative and we have to buy water from another system. But generally, it's a lot more expensive when we buy water from another system. on orders of magnitude.
And on the engineering side, we don't believe that New Britain has the extra available water to supply Plainville on a regular basis. On an emergency basis, yes, not on a regular basis. We also heard bringing water from RWA from Southington, RWA through Southington to come to Plainville, and that is just something that will most likely not be financially viable. You have over 6 miles of water main on state highway. You'll need 1 or 2 pump stations. So there's lots of complications in trying to obtain water from another town, another source outside of Plainville.
And their water is more expensive than ours too. So it just complicates the formula. So.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, any comments or questions? Well, again, thank you for your time. We look forward to continuing the discussion. That actually concludes our presentations for this evening. Thank you. If you don't, we'll make sure we get one to everyone. That's okay. We'll manage.
Oh, here you go.
Thank you. All right. So that was item 1 tonight. We can move to item number 2. No public hearings are scheduled this evening, so we can move right to item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. We do have a couple different meetings to act on tonight. Councilwoman Christopher,
Or is it okay to do it all as
you
one?
can do it all at once.
All right, let's do that.
It's up to you.
Motion to approve the amended minutes from the January 20th, 2026 special and regular meeting and the February 2nd, 2026 regular meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We can move now to item 4, announcements and reports. Are there any announcements or reports this evening? Councilwoman Moranti.
Last week, I did have 2 meetings as liaison. First to the Library Board of Trustees, just a couple of points. Circulation still increasing, shown, looking at month-to-month comparisons from last January to this past January, especially children's circulation. And talking about children, they had a very successful Take Your Child to Library Day back on February 7th, despite the fact that there were some weather issues. About 70 children were there, and the highlight, of course, was Pete the Cat event. Also went to the Conservation Commission meeting on Wednesday evening last week. They're planning 2 events for spring, a river cleanup, and they'll also have a booth at Family Fest. And they're continuing working with DOT regarding the trail signs at Tomaso Nature Park and revisiting in some ways Paderewski Pond and looking at some new ways that may be available to improve the water quality, remove some of the sediment, and improve the ecosystem there. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with an announcement or report this evening?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilwoman Buchanan.
thank you. I had the pleasure of attending the Inland Wetlands meeting. Such an interesting meeting, so much to learn. This water presentation ties right into it. Everything ties into those meetings. Just something to be paying attention to. Our new solar farm that's going to be on the former location of the landfill. Very interesting, so just something to pay attention to and be aware of. My understanding is that it brings in $50,000 to the general budget, and that there will be some potential opportunities to understand and learn more how that might affect the community and our town. I also had the pleasure of attending the Recreation Advisory Committee meeting. Another great group of people who are working hard over there to make sure that the students and kids of this town have opportunities to attend camp at a fair an affordable price, which is terrific. So parents, I know it feels like it's winter now, but camp is right around the corner, so be on the lookout for information there. There is an early bird camp sign up, so take advantage of that if that's something on the horizon. The next meetings for inland wetlands will be on March 4th at 7 p.m. And the next Recreation Advisory Committee will be on March 12th at 6:15. And those meetings are at the Recreation Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with an announcement or report this evening? All right, hearing no one, we can pass over item 6 and move right to, or I'm sorry, go back to item 5. Let's do some appointments or resignations. Any appointments or resignations this evening? Okay, we will move on now to item 7, report of the town attorney. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make some brief comments regarding the preparation of minutes of meetings. So, under the general statutes, there's certain requirements for our minutes and there's time deadlines. And I just wanted to point out that the minutes under the statutes, they're not meant to be a transcript. We record what's happening here. That's the verbatim transcript. The minutes are supposed to record the actions that the council takes. So that would mean knowing who the attendees are, what the vote is, what the motions were, who seconded, if there were any amendments, and what the actions that were taken. Those are the things that the minutes have to contain, so that there could be some discussion with regard to the deliberations, but they don't have to be a verbatim transcript of it. And that's under Connecticut General Statute Section 1-225, paren, little a, close paren, Freedom of Information Act. So you have to have the votes in 48 hours, and you have to have the actual minutes in 7 days. And if you have a town website, it has to go on the site also. So I just wanted to give some clarity on when the minutes are prepared and what the purpose of it is versus a transcript. All right. If there's any questions.
And just for anyone out there listening, we did have a question come up about minutes and specifically what has to be in the minutes, and that's why the town attorney tonight is reporting on that. So we're just having a clarification to make sure we understand what's required in the minutes.
Right, because I mean, I represent a number of towns, as you know, and so if you were going to do verbatim transcripts, you'd have a difficult time meeting those time requirements, especially for longer meetings, because you've only got 7 days, and you got to get the votes out in 48. So when it comes to minutes under the statutes, that's what they mean. I just wanted to make that clear.
All right, thank you. Any comments, questions for the town attorney this evening?
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. We can move now to item 8, report of the town manager. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few items here, 5 in total, and then I'll turn it over to Cindy for happenings since Andy is absent. I'll begin with the middle school renovation project update, and I think I'll lead with the fact that currently the project is on time and on budget, which is good. And that the town is preparing to submit Phase 2 construction documents and an estimate to the state of Connecticut later this month. This is the same process we followed in September when we had the enabling phase, which was the pre-construction, the sort of the setup phase, if you will. And so the town has also undertaken a third-party review from C Corps LLC, and that's different from BVH, which is our commissioning agent that you heard about as well. But C Corps is doing the third-party review, and we've also had review from staff and the health department as well. So that is underway. The enabling phase, with an estimated cost of $3.4 million, will be going out to bid this week. And so, again, when we start opening bids on the enabling phase, and then the real, where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, is when we get those bids back in terms of how we match those up with our estimates. So, right now we're keeping our fingers crossed that we've got the estimators sharpening their pencils, and that when these bids come back, we're going to be in line with what we have estimated. So, but thus far, we are on track, and we'll know a lot more when we get those bid results in. Item number 2 is an update on the White Oak project, and at the previous town council meeting, February 2nd, Manafort Newport Realty was with us and proposed or had us consider the proposed demolition of the entirety of the former White Oak office space fronting West Main Street, as described in the draft resolution and the attached map, which is in your packet. I refer to it as the light brick, if you will. When you're looking at it from the side, from here, from the Municipal Center, you see the distinct building that fronts, parallels Main Street, and that's the building in question that has all of the problems. The recent proposal is a result of the concerns we've had about the structural integrity and the continued deterioration of the site. These issues are a combination of substandard initial construction tactics, what they found inside the building, the normal wear of tear, the site sitting vacant for 20 years without maintenance prior to the town's ownership, and since then, remediation of the interior contamination, the increasing water leaks, and other exposure to the elements. So, unfortunately, it's not really structurally sound. The town engaged a structural engineering firm to complete the structural condition assessment. The latest report suggests repairs in the magnitude of roughly $200,000, which will only resecure the building and get it back to sort of a baseline zero. The money spent to stabilize the building cannot be characterized as building improvements. So the burden of the suggested repairs would fall to the town and the taxpayer dollars. Grant funds would not be an eligible funding source, and is not thought to be a wise use of tax dollars to address the issues, only to have, in this case, to shore it up and then only have it demolished and torn down. So we've kind of pivoted on our strategy with respect to sequencing of events in terms of how to approach this project. And the resolution is an effort to put forth explain our opportunities with the state, signal support for Manafort Newport Realty's ongoing efforts to see the proposed redevelopment of the former White Oak site come to fruition, and the town council support signaling a united front from the town and developing partners, allowing our town staff to engage and converse with DECD regarding the proposed demolition of the site and the reason to do so. So there is an item under new business to consider and act on the resolution. But again, much of the conversation was had at the previous meeting. There are maps circulating to show you again what we're focused on, and hope that we can move forward with the state's blessing at DCD that this is the right course of action. I think it would be a terrible injustice to shore it up only to demolish it and take it down, even if it's only a year later. So we'll embark on that. Item number 3 is just more of a informational item on the 2026 revaluation. It is underway. It has begun. Representatives from Equality, that's the company retained to assist the assessor in completing the project. They are out taking digital images of properties, and the process began on Monday, February 9th. So we wanted the public to be aware of that. As you know, the town completed our last reval of all real property for October 1st, 2021 grand list. And to address these changes in property value, a revaluation is completed every 5 years to determine the current fair market value of each real estate parcel. As part of the process, representatives from Equality will begin photographing the exterior of all properties. These photographs are used solely to update the town's property assessment database. Interior inspections may be requested, and that will be done on, I believe, a case-by-case basis. We have a brochure with additional information available on the assessor's webpage. However, residents that have any questions or concerns are encouraged to contact the Assessment and Revenue Collection Office at 860-793-0221, extension 8732. And next is an update on the Tyche is the company that we've engaged to help us through the planning process or assist the planning department with its permits and applications as we embark and endeavor to fill the position, what is yet unfilled. We do have interviews this week, so I'm optimistic that there'll be a candidate there and we could move forward. But in the meantime, they are not only, Tyche is not only coming in to help us in helping us with our planning department and its workload. The town also requested that they serve as an aquifer protection consultant. So some of the questions that were coming up here, I think Counselor Getterman makes a good point that reach out to Aquarian to gather some information and likely, I think Tyche has some expertise in aquifer protection to put our house in order with respect to going forward. Those quarterly meetings, annual meetings, I'm not sure what they're going to recommend, but having Aquarian there to participate would be very helpful. So I'll be working with them to explore steps for undertaking the study or survey of the aquifer and any other potential impact of water quality from the quarry and commercial development projects that are happening in town. Again, as was stated, much of the town is covered or sits on the aquifer, one of two aquifers. So we will proceed and tap their expertise in helping assist us with the aquifer protection. Item 5 is AKRF is a company and a firm to assist us with air quality. And so we've separated those functions and believe that they're a strong firm can help us with that. They're proposing a comprehensive 12-month air quality monitoring and regulatory review program focused on Tilcon's North Quarry operations here in town. The scope includes evaluating compliance with Connecticut statutes, Connecticut DEEP, fugitive dust regulations, and federal standards such as EPA National Ambient Air Quality Standards, the NAAQS. Silica exposure will be assessed using benchmarks from ATSDR, which is the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, and OEHHA, which is the Office of Environmental Health and Hazard Assessment out of California's Department of EPA. As a result, because there is no established NAAQS for silica, so we're trying to find whatever resources we can to assist in that. The program involves 4 sampling events at 3 nearby properties. Those will have to be determined, and we'll have to process around determining that, and to measure respirable dust and crystalline silica using the NIOSH-approved methods, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, approved methods targeting the worst-case conditions such as blasting and dry and windy weather. Following each sample event, AKRF will prepare an industrial hygiene report, and at the end of the monitoring period, an annual summary report will be provided. Will provide compliance recommendations and strategies for public communication. So those are my 5 items in my report, and I'll happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any comments, questions for the town manager this evening?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilwoman Tompkins.
Just something really quick on the reval. You had mentioned that sometimes it would be requested for an inside inspection or whatever. I know that for that process, they generally send out a letter to the homeowner. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think yes, I think it is a letter. I can confirm with the assessor's department on that.
Okay, so just so everybody's clear, if someone shows up at their house and they're saying, yeah, we're here from the town and we want to come in and inspect your home, they shouldn't be letting people into the house if they haven't heard from the town previously.
Right.
And they probably should call the police and let them know that people are trying to enter their home if that happens, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Yeah. And
thank you.
I would think, I'm hearing, and I have to confirm as well, that there may be a virtual option as well, that a homeowner could film without having someone in and submit that. I haven't confirmed that, so let me track that down as well. But I'm also hoping that we confirm that they're going to be, each and every one of the representatives have proper identification, that when they're out from the street side taking pictures or what have you, so that they can be identified so that residents aren't alarmed. But that's part of getting the notifications out.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Last reevaluation, they asked to come inside my house, and they did send a letter. They sent the letter ahead of time. I'm assuming nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Any other questions, comments?
I just have one comment about the aquifer protection. I think we should ask this group if our aquifer agency is in the right commission. As of right now, it's in planning and zoning.
Mhm.
I think it makes more sense to either have it in inland wetlands, or since it has to do with water,
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem to make sense to me that it's part of planning and zoning.
Okay.
And maybe just bounce it off the consultant and
Yeah.
see what, I'm sure they have some knowledge of what other towns are doing or how other towns handle this agency. And I don't know if it's moving it, it's good, obviously inland wetlands makes sense, or whether it's a standalone commission on its own. Clearly we probably want to get some clarity to that question.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes, Councilwoman Buchanan.
Can Councilman Gettleman say that one more time? I'm sorry.
I'm not. It just seems odd to me that our aquifer agency falls under planning and zoning. The Planning and Zoning Commission is the aquifer agency. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. It would make more sense to me if it was in inland wetlands or Conservation Commission, something like that.
I can only speculate the history that it may have been assigned planning and zoning as a regulatory body, that the way I understand the planner has been tagged with that responsibility, and that I think it's tied to the fact that most business operations or those that are above the aquifer have to submit a permit process. So I think they thought logically it would be with P&Z.
Right.
But we can go through the evaluation, and may be inland wetlands. There'll still be an administrator, staff person to undertake all of that administrative function. But as to the body that reviews, we can ask the consultant. But I'm just speculating that P&Z might have been because of the business permit application process that they were linked together that way.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Councilwoman
Yes, I did
Moran.
mention to the manager earlier that if it would be possible that we receive copies of any of the documentation or communications with Tyke and with AKRF, so that we would really be very up-to-date and very knowledgeable about what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep, and I can, I was only able to get one copy, but I can get those out to the rest of the members. The Tyke is on board already. We are still working out with the other firm on the air quality,
Good.
so that should happen by next week.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And just before I forget, is it possible to get an electronic copy of the presentation Aquarian did earlier, if we don't already have, or just sent out?
Yeah, I'll certainly inquire about, and I'll
Okay.
I'll request that from George, yeah.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions for the town manager before we move to happenings? All right, it's happenings time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
From the library. The library is excited to welcome Jenna Mushin as the new teen librarian, and she's ready to take on all things teen related. She's previously worked at the Darien Library where she was also the teen librarian, forming connections with young adults in town while creating fun, engaging, and educational programming. She's eager to bring her expertise to Plainville and create a lasting impact on all things teen-related. Teens are invited to stop by for a Meet Your Teen Librarian event on February 19th at 3 p.m. to play board games, talk about your vision for the future teen space, and get to know Jenna. And from the Senior Center. For any questions or to register for events, you may call 860-747-5728. Memory Cafe will be held Thursday, February 19th at 2 p.m. Veterans Social will be at Tuesday, February 24th at 10 a.m. Vision Support will be Tuesday, February 24th at 10:30 a.m. Pre-Diabetes Support and Education Group, Monday, February 23rd at 9:30. I hope I say this right. La Petite Cafe at the Senior Center will be Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 11 a.m. at 1 p.m., although it will be closed on 2/17 and 2/18. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Before we move on, are there any last-minute questions or comments? All right, hearing no other comments or questions, we can move now to item 9, public comments. At this point in the meeting, anyone who wishes to address the council may do so. Please step forward to the podium. Give your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comments. The first ring means you have 30 seconds left, and the second ring means the 3 minutes has run out. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council? Yes, sir, Mr. Sizowski.
Thank you. My name is Dan Siselski, and I live at 33 Overlook Drive. I'm here today with members of our Knights of Columbus Council, Plainville Council, and I'd ask these guys to just stand up for 1 second, please. We have a dozen members of the Knights of Columbus here. Thank you. We're here to talk about Christmas. It's only 300 days away, but let's not make sure that we don't rush into it. I have an open letter here that I'd like to present to the council. I'll give it to Cindy, and I will be glad to read the letter. On behalf of the Knights of Columbus and many concerned residents of Plainville, we are writing to formally request the reinstatement of nativity scene in Memorial Park for the 2026 Christmas season and beyond. We were deeply disappointed by the display's absence this past year. Plainville is a town built on neighborliness and shared tradition. For generations, the creche has contributed to a warm, welcoming atmosphere during the holidays. Its removal has caused confusion and concern among residents who fear that our town's heritage is being eroded. We understand the council must navigate complex legal guidelines regarding public displays. However, stripping away long-held traditions is not the only solution. As seen in Waterbury and countless other municipalities across Connecticut, a public forum approach where a creche, a memorial, secular holiday symbols are displayed together is both constitutionally sound and socially inclusive. We are not asking for exclusivity. We are asking for a representation. The Knights are eager to participate in the solution. We are willing to assist in the setup, maintenance, storage of the display to ensure that it's no burden to the town. We simply ask that the town allows community to celebrate its tradition openly. We request this item be placed on the agenda for an upcoming council meeting so we may discuss a path forward that honors both the law and the values of Plainville citizens. The whole culture of Christmas should be changing to be more inclusive. It is join together in a cooperation of Christmas in its own way, so be respectable of others and others' tradition. Let us not hide Christmas. It exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council this evening? Mr. Kislick, I think it's your time.
John Kislick, 65 Forestville Avenue. It's really great to see such a good crowd here with our citizens participating. I have one from Maryland. She wants to thank Andy and the crew for the great snow cleanup job they did around Lincoln Street School, the road and the sidewalks, because the people park on both sides of that road and there was no room, so they did a great job. What I have now, the water company that came here, I mean, I know they have a lot of expenses. It's almost impossible. And I believe Pure, one of the reasons they rejected it, because they knew there was going to be a huge financial increase for the customers. But one thing, I know they have it tough with their water, but I will say that I will not drink Plainville water from the tap. The other thing on your, what you're going to have tonight on your resolution on Teflon property, you know, I've always said that somebody owns some property, they can do what they want with it, I believe, within all the rules and regulations. But the only thing I don't like about this, that means until they do demolish this building, that fence is going to stay there. And that's been a sore spot for me. And I wish the town could do something about either stabilizing that stuff that's crumbling. It doesn't look good to have a fence in the center of our town like that. It's going to be up there a year now or something. See if we could do something with it. Whatever the cost is, the town just absorb it. The other thing, that busway on Pine Street and right through the center of town and go up Woodford Avenue, I just see that as such a waste. We have probably 10 bus stops from our bus stop in front of the library all the way through Woodford Avenue. And I don't understand the state wanting to spend that kind of money. I just find it as a waste. And Councilman Gettleman, I hope you keep up with what's happening at the park and keep your eye on them guys from the state, because I know how you feel about it, and most of the people do too. We don't want them causing harm to our park. And the last thing I have on the plowing, I know that's a really big storm we had, and I read where one town said, you know, I don't know why they're staying 3 feet away from the curb. And one town said they didn't want to put such a burden on the homeowners trying to plow 4 and 5 feet on their sidewalk. But when we have these here with 3 feet away from the road, I wish they could do something, you know, all these guys are good workers and stuff, but I don't know if there's a reason, if that's the reason that they don't do it. But I think it's better to be more safe in the roads than the sidewalks. And I live on a state road where I have 5 lanes in front of my house, 3 one direction in mine, and that last one, the end of my driveway was 5 feet. And I don't mind removing it because the road gets to be made more safe. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council this evening? Ms. Edmond.
Somebody before me? Oh, good. Thank you. Sitting for so long. Okay. Joanne Edmond, 166 West Main Street. Well, first of all, kudos to the Knights of Columbus. My sentiments exactly. Great letter. We're keeping an eye on Christmas, that's for sure. And the tree over at the library. It needs to be restored to its magnificence. Now, on to other things. I'm worried. I'm worried about the cost of living in this town. It's getting extremely expensive. I'm worried about the proposed budget.
on the education side, $2.6 million. Wow. Woo. That's big. And I have no idea what it is on the municipal side. Have you taken a look at your Eversource bill lately? The energy costs, it really is getting very expensive to live. Boy, that came out funny. Then I worry about what this town is beginning to look like. It looks like we've gone apartment happy. Apartment mad, apartment happy, take your choice. It's supposed to be 9.5 square miles. It's supposed to be a quiet little, quaint little antique town, like it has always been. And it just seems like there's a push on trying to make it a metropolis. Our streets can't handle that. Our schools can't handle that. And it seems like our utilities aren't going to be able to handle that. Our sewer bill is already high. If we have to change the water system, I don't know, I couldn't hear half of it, but I'll get the gist of what's going on at some point. And everything is so expensive. So I think we better start thinking about putting a lid on a few things. Do I have to start going to the planning and zoning meetings? Although I don't know if that'll make any difference. But it's getting out of hand. It's hard enough. We just came through 4 years of Biden economics. And the big guy is trying to straighten everything out, and it takes time. And on top of it, we've got crime running rampant in all these sanctuary blue states, and some in the red states too. And it's the illegal problem is still with us. It's lessening, but it's still with us. Well, my time has run out.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council this evening? Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, we will close public comment. And we can now move on to no action needed tonight under old business, so we can move right to item 11, new business.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Gettleman.
Motion to adopt resolution entitled Resolution Regarding the Future Redevelopment of the Former White Oak Corporation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
I have a comment or question, please.
Councilwoman Buchanan.
Oh, thank you. So I know we talked about this last week, and I'm the newest one up here, so I guess I have more questions that arose from our last meeting, and I just feel I would be grateful if we could have one more additional executive session on this issue to discuss further, or I could express my concerns here. I just feel too rushed to make this decision with the short window of time.
I'm not sure we can go into executive session for questions necessarily, but.
We have a motion in a second right now.
Yeah.
So you'd have to do something with regard to that, and then with regard to going to executive session tonight, it's not on our agenda. So I have no other comments.
I'll modify my comment. I would like to request to table this issue to schedule a follow-up conversation. Thank you.
And I don't necessarily have an issue. My issue is just making sure that this is something that qualifies for executive session as opposed to something.
You've got a vote, right? You've got a motion and a second.
Yep.
And so you need to vote on that or withdraw that motion to consider this. So that's where we are now.
Okay.
So that's what you'd have to do if you wanted to consider it.
Well, why don't we, for, in consideration of having some discussion, I'd ask that if we could just have the motion withdrawn and the second withdrawn. I forgot who made the motion.
I made the motion. I'll withdraw the motion.
So why don't we go down this avenue then and talk about if additional questions that you have. Personally, I'm not sure it's, I don't know how we decide whether that's executive session. This is something that we're obviously talking about in public. I wouldn't want to violate executive session guidelines. My guess is we would have to do this out in public as opposed to just.
And so if you wanted to go into executive session, even though this is a regular meeting, would not be comfortable amending the agenda now.
Correct,
But a
and I
number of
agree. I
people
don't think.
have left the meeting already
Yep.
tonight.
No, I agree.
So
This would have to be next
I don't
meeting.
see that's being an option. And so the motions have been withdrawn. If you want to have discussion, go ahead. If you want to table it, go ahead, or whatever your pleasure is. But at this point, you can do whatever you think is appropriate because the motions are not on the table.
All right.
I think the request is for more time, really, so that if we can take this up at the next town council meeting, that would be great, I think the main question, right, is the only thing we're voting on tonight, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the demolition part of the building, correct? Is that?
Yes, yeah. Essentially, what we're doing is the plan was, I believe, to remediate the property and then deal with the buildings. But because of the state of the building, the developer, in the town, because we own it, and you want to cut in.
If I could just make a comment on that. So the way that this process is actually working is, we have to deal with DECD, and so the agreements are being amended, and we feel. And I know that our economic development coordinator feels that if the town council resolves that they are in agreement with going forward this way, that's what this vote is for. We would still need to go through DECD and to have the authority to go this way. This would not be the final vote.
Okay, but we're not agreeing to a different price in the
We'd have to,
different
we would
purchase
have
price
to
or
do,
different anything
no,
like
what would
that?
happen is, we'd have to go back in, and we have a land development agreement. And so we have to go back in, and we would have to reach new terms, given the fact that the agreement has changed from using the existing building to now demoing the building that's there, and with the cost and how we're going to share those. So we would have to go through all of that in reaching the agreement. That's why we go back to DECD. I think the point of this is to let them know, though, that the council would be willing to agree to see the demo take place. I think that's really the focus of what we're doing tonight.
Okay, so that's really the only thing that the vote is doing, would be the agreement of the demolition.
Well, it's not even an agreement, it's just that the council is in agreement
There's
to go
public
along
support
with that,
from the
yes,
council
but
that-
you are not voting and say, okay, now we can demo. We're gonna need to go further than that. That's
Right,
not gonna be
right.
enough.
And
That's
it's
what I
not
meant.
changing financial terms or anything?
We're not changing financial terms tonight, but I anticipate that will happen in the future
Correct.
through negotiations.
Right,
And
okay.
that's what the resolution does in terms of authorizing myself in conjunction with the town attorney to negotiate after, this is a combined statement in terms of support for going forward in this new strategy without the, details coming later.
Right,
So this
okay.
isn't getting the.
We're gonna need to enter into another amended LDDA
Right, okay,
as a result of this.
okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
And thank you for
Yep.
outlining the process to me. I
And
would
we have
much
our-
rather have
we
this
have the
conversation
Manafort-
publicly. So,
We've got these guys here, so
Right.
if there's any other questions.
okay. My question would be, and you just brought up the way, I was thinking. So I understand when we bought this property so I wasn't there, so forgive me. Was demolition discussed at that time at all? Was this need, because it had been sitting empty for 20 years. So I guess I'm just trying to better understand before saying yes to anything or no, to fully understand what so significantly changed in the last 20 years. If I could hear that again,
Do you
please.
guys, do you want an answer?
Or last 3 years, rather.
I would defer to.
And we
the,
are. We're
Thank
deferring.
you very much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners, since we entered in.
And just your name.
Mark Lovely from
Thank you.
Newport, Manafort, Newport Realty. Since we've entered into the agreement with the town over the process of getting funds approved, getting the RFP, getting everything out for the environmental cleanup, the building has deteriorated. If you were to go into the inside of the building now, the roof is sagging. And I'm happy that it didn't collapse with the last storm. That's how bad it is. I mean, there's the roof is falling in, the facade, the steel behind it is getting rusted, so that facade could fall all the way out into the road. Is the state it's in. The town has had twice. They've had engineers come out to inspect the building. The reason for looking at it this way and talking to DECD, this doesn't even mean it's got, with vote tonight doesn't mean it's going to get demoed. There's a process that has to go to DECD to be able to get approval to do that. They may say, no, you can't do that. You've got to fix up the building. What we came in discussions with the town was there's about 250,000 right now just to shore up the building. Not even to say it's going to be structurally sound to keep it up later on down the road, where right now, instead of that town spending those funds at 250,000, you can use grant funds to demo it if that's possible, if the DECD lets you. So what happens is that could save taxpayers money that wouldn't be spent on something that you never know with the process of doing the cleanup could take another 2 years, that it could be sitting there and could unfortunately collapse.
Thank you. And I did understand that from our last question, conversations, but I just wanted to understand it again. So I guess now my mind is going to the legalities of it, and Mr. Morris, you can help me. So we're just looking for a resolution for you to investigate this as a possible outcome, and then we'll have the numbers brought back to us to determine if that's something we're going to do. I guess, so does it changes everything, right? It changes all of everything. Would we have to go back to the beginning? And you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate you. But would we have to go back to the beginning and put this back out completely for bid to be fair, since it's completely different?
We own the property now, and as far as the demo is concerned, I don't think we decided on whether or not we'd be going to bid on the demo or not, Mike, did we? On the demolition itself, we haven't gotten that far down.
We haven't gotten that far, but indications are that we'd be out to bid on that.
Yeah, on the demo, but this, this is another iteration of the agreement, and we've gone forward. Now, I wasn't here at the beginning either. However, as this thing has developed, they have discovered different issues with the floodplain and with the remediation efforts, and then with the building being in the condition it is in now. And one of the other things that I'm concerned about, which was not really brought up yet, is that if we were to shore it up, in other words, we got to do something, because right now it is in a deteriorating state, and so we have to do something. So the choice is to demo it, or the other choice was to shore it up. Shoring it up is going to cost a couple $100,000, which will end up being wasted. That was part of the conversation. The other part of the conversation to me is, if we shore it up, we've already got a serious problem with squatters. And so all you're going to do is, once again, I think you're going to be encouraging that problem if we shore it up and not demo it, which is something we really didn't talk about, but I think it is a practical concern also with regard to this. And so, all the council's doing tonight is telling DECD that if, everybody can agree and we end up working out the money on it, then the council doesn't have an objection to going with the demo route as opposed to rehabbing the building. And the reason for that is to save the money on shoring it up. And also, it sounded as if a lot of what they wanted to keep they're not going to be able to because the facade's in such bad shape. I mean, that's really what you'd want to be looking at. Am I right on that?
Yeah, 100%
These are the
correct.
construction guys. I'm trying to do the best I can. I don't really, I'm somewhat familiar with this. So from the legal point of view, this is just telling DECD that if the parties can work it out, the council will have no objection to that they support that. That's really, this is more of a persuasion thing with the state.
And can I just interject?
Yeah, please go. I don't think I can say anything else.
My understanding, and try and simplify, is just that, the original agreement that DEC approved, we are asking for that to change.
Exactly. So
and we need DECD to approve that potential change before we even get into, is it going to get demoed? How much is it going to cost? How is it going to get paid for? So tonight, or what this resolution does, is just let DECD know that you have the council's approval.
Yes.
To ask the DECD, we want to make this change to the original agreement.
Yep.
And we have the backing of both the developer and the town in this situation.
And that's 100% correct, because DCD will not even consider, even if we wanted to call up and ask them if they'd consider it, they will not consider that without the resolution being approved by town council. And that's the reason for the resolution. Because you couldn't even speak to them about this process.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess I'll just express my concern, and without being the most, tenured person up here, here's my root concern. So, and you just verified it for me, that this changes the original terms of the contract. So do we...
I don't think it does.
Well, we're taking down an entire building versus refurbishing a building. I mean, I can't think of anything that would modify it more so.
It's certainly not a majority of the agreement. I think what the plan was to move forward with the soil remediation first and move towards West Main Street, which included demolishing at least part of the building originally. Exactly. Now what we're asking is, instead of waiting for the soil remediation because we had to do the floodplain, take a look at floodplains and get approval from 8 different agencies at the state to okay that. We're just asking to move up the demolition, and in this case, we're looking potentially to demolish the entire building as opposed to a part of the building.
Exactly.
And we want approval to move forward with that building now, as opposed to wait for the soil remediation to start.
And 100% correct. So what happens is, if this does happen, they do approve it, and we do end up demoing that portion of the building, because about half of that building was already getting demoed for a driveway to get out into the back anyway through there. So if we're able to do this, we can actually look at working with the town and purchasing that front now, and purchasing the other parcel over near the fire station to start the development while we wait for the remediation in the back. So this will just get us going a lot faster, where we might have been, that building may be sitting there in the state it is in for another 2 years before the remediation is done. So that's a reason.
And I just have a concern, to shore it up. I mean, I'm not a construction guy, but to spend $250,000 to shore it up, where you're probably going to end up taking it down anyway later. I mean, that's the definition of wasteful spending.
100%.
To me, John, are you nodding yes? You're agreeing with me? Wow. But no, and that's, so I think for tonight, and again, we'll discuss whether we want to move forward tonight, but, I think the resolution just acknowledges that the council and the developers want to alter the original agreement to allow for this potential demolition of the building. And before we have any discussions with the state or the DECD and this Department of Economic and Community Development, that's DECD, we should have announced that earlier, but I think that's what we're looking for, is just before we can sit down with DECD, we need to have a resolution that says that the town supports looking into this possible change in the agreement.
That's 100% correct.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
In safety-wise, it's the smartest thing to do, and do it as fast as possible.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
thank you. And I do understand that from a cost-effective standpoint with the current situation. I guess I was just layering out the onion, and this is why, it's hard to, I'm glad we're doing this publicly, but I'm just asking questions publicly. Now that my thought was, okay, now that the original contract agreement had had changed, a change, did we have to go back to square one? And what I meant out to bid wasn't just for that one building. I meant in general for the entire project. I just wanted to be
We do
clear.
not have to go out to bid again.
No, we've had this happen on other projects before in Berlin and Sellington too, so this is common in when you're doing environmental cleanup on projects.
I mean, in fact, if I could, Mr. Chairman, we've already amended the agreement once because we changed the units because of the flood issue. So it's already been changed. You know, this is an iteration, it's a process as you go through on these developments. So it has already changed. And so eventually we will renegotiate some of the terms. We will.
And that will come before the council for a vote when we do have to make those changes, right?
It will. I think the ECD just wants to know if they approve this, that the council is willing to consider it and could approve it, knowing that now you got a demo instead. That's really what the thrust of this is. That they know, okay, the council's willing to go that route. That's what they're really looking for. Would you agree with that?
Yes, correct.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
I have one final comment. I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to explain it, and I hope you could understand me doing my due diligence representing folks that are not visible here, especially when I sit with two siblings of folks who have vested interest. I feel like I really need to ask these questions, and I was happy that it was done publicly, so thank you.
What?
I don't have a vested interest in it. It was the two siblings. Was that for me and Quinn?
Yeah.
I guess vested interest, an interest,
Well, you said
a
two
sibling.
siblings. Who's the two siblings you're talking about?
It's you and you and Quinn.
Yeah,
and
I have
think
no
it's
vested
our-
interest in this property whatsoever.
I don't either.
Let me rephrase my comment. We have two siblings of someone who has a serious vested interest sitting here voting. So I want to make sure I'm doing my due diligence on behalf of the residents of Plainville. And I thank you very much. And your information has been clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
Just one.
Can we vote on this?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Gettleman.
Motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution Regarding the Future Redevelopment of the Former White Oak Corporation.
Second.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Gettleman.
Motion to approve the tax refunds as listed on the addendum.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let me find the right page. We have finished our new business items. Now we can move to item 12, other discussions of interest. Any other discussions of interest this evening?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd just like to make a comment. I wanted to take this opportunity to let the council know that I've found a place in Plainville. I have an apartment and I have a lease, and I've turned that copy over to the town attorney for his review. And in the process of moving in, but I'm here. So.
Excellent.
Welcome to town.
John, you're okay over there, right? No, that's all right. I just want to make sure you heard him correctly. That's all.
It has nothing.
Well, we're not.
No, I want to know. It's your.
Well, you can ask that question at the next meeting, Marilyn. I'd rather you not shout
Yeah,
angrily.
after the
Freaking
meeting.
business, actually.
Personal question.
Does anyone else have any other discussions of interest? All right. So we do have an executive session this evening. Do we anticipate do we anticipate taking any votes?
Well, yes. I
Yes.
anticipate yes.
All right. So we'll go into executive session. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilwoman Tompkins.
motion to enter into executive session for contract negotiation.
All right, we have a motion and a second. As stated, we will be coming back out for a public vote regarding this matter, most likely. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we will be back out to the dais as soon.
We're going to invite
The council, the town manager,
and the Rob and Stacy.
HR, Stacy,
Director, and-
Rob
and-
Uden. All right, so we If I could, we're gonna do this in two steps. If we can add to the agenda under new business, a tentative agreement with AFSCME Union. If someone could just.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor on adding that as item 3 under new business?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is item 3, and we can take action on item 3 right now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilwoman Tompkins.
Motion to approve and ratify the collective bargaining agreement between the town and local 1303-056 AFSCME, Council Number 4, AFL-CIO, effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028, as presented in a negotiated draft presented in executive session, and authorize the town manager to execute the final contract on behalf of the town.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I just
Yes.
have a comment.
Yes.
I just want to thank Stacy and Rob and anyone else involved in this negotiation and for all the work that went into it. Sounds like it was a lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with a comment or a question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. We'll see you the first Monday in March.